Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Automation Days Asia 2023. Thanks for taking the time to be with us today. My name is Jan-Willem Middelburg, and I will be your host today. And I'm super excited to be having everyone in this third edition of Automation Days Asia. Over the last 3 years, this event has grown to become the largest virtual gathering of automation professionals. And I'm super excited that everyone is here with us again today. We've put almost 6 months in putting together a new program for this year. And we have an amazing lineup of speakers who will share with you the latest ideas and insights into the fascinating domain of automation these 2 days. Before we get started with the actual program, let me spend around 5 minutes to talk you through the way in which you can participate, the platform functionalities, and some of the goodies and giveaways that we're going to give as part of this conference. Let me start with a very quick introduction. As you might have seen in the tracks, we have 2 tracks for you prepared these 2 days. And each track will be hosted by either myself or my colleague. My name is Jan-Willem Middelburg, and I'm the CEO at Cybiant. And track 2 is hosted by my dear colleague, John-Willem Middelburg, who is our head of services. Together, we will be moderating questions. We will make sure that we instantly reply towards any messages that you might have. And as is part of the tradition at Automation Days, we will host questions at the end of every session. So this is also right away one of the key points I'd like to make. If you have any questions or you would like to pick the brain of some of the world's best automation experts, by all means, feel free to participate. That's the whole point of joining a conference like this one live today. Good. I'm super proud to be presenting over 24 different speakers that we have compiled for these 2 days. The event has grown very rapidly, and this is also the first year that we will have speakers presenting literally from every time zone. So although the conference is focused around Asia Pacific time zone, we have speakers this year participating from Australia, from Europe, even from the United States, who get out of bed very early to present their session with us today. I hope that over the next 2 days, you're going to learn a lot by some of the leading voices in the automation domain. What you will see on the slides here is the faces of people who have written automation books, people who are leading automation centers of excellence at some of the largest organizations in the world, or people who have had hands-on experience and, for instance, have been voted as most valuable professionals within their respective field. We have taken extremely great care in putting together this program, and I'm super proud that all of these speakers will share their knowledge with you today. Good. The way that this program has been set up is that we have a 2-day, 2-track program. Every day will start and end with a centralized keynote. And I have the great opportunity to start and kickstart the opening keynote today, which is going to be all about unlocking automation excellence. After the opening keynote, we will go into 2 different tracks, one which will be hosted by me and the other that will be hosted by my colleague, John-Willem Middelburg, in track 2. That means that at the start of every hour, you will need to make a choice which track you're going to participate in. And as I will just show you in a minute, it's going to be very simple to switch tracks and go back and forth between the different speakers. During the lunch session, we also always will have a panel discussion in which we will host an in-depth discussion with 4 automation experts, and in which you can also pick the brain or ask questions towards these panelists who will be more than happy to answer them. So that is the program as we have composed it both for day 1 and day 2. What you could already do is go towards the website and go through all the different session descriptions, and the platform offers you the functionality to bookmark your sessions so that you will know in advance which sessions you would like to participate in and where you would like to join. Good. This event would not be possible without the generous support of our partners and sponsors. As you all know, we provide Automation Days Asia for free towards all the participants, and that would not be possible without the contribution from some of the leading voices and leading companies within the automation domain. I especially would like to do a quick shout out to the Service Automation Framework, who is co-organizing this event with us today, and which is leading the development of thought leadership in automation best practices. Next to that, I also would like to do a sincere shout out to APMG International, who is providing certifications and vendor independent best practices around certifying knowledge. And besides this event is supported by UiPath, Blue Prism, and Automation Anywhere, who are leading technology providers within the automation domain. I would like to sincerely thank you for being part of our event, some of you already for many years, and it's not that without this support, it would absolutely not be possible for us to host this event. So thank you again from all of us at Cybiant for being a part and making this event possible. Good. This might be the first time that you're joining Automation Days Asia, and if that's the case, let me give you a very brief walkthrough around how you can participate. On the left-hand side of your screen, you will see event info and sessions. If you click on the button Sessions, there you will be able to switch between track 1 and track 2. So during the conference day, if you would like to switch between the different sessions, please navigate to the button on the left that indicates Sessions. It's also possible to interactively participate. So at the bottom, you will see a button that says Reactions, and there you can give smiley faces, claps, thumbs up, hearts, and all of the different emojis that you could use in order to indicate whether you like a content, whether it surprises you, or whether you're learning something. So I'm going to invite all of you to do that right now and see if you can find the button. And let's give a lot of smiley faces to kickstart our day today. I can see almost all of you are able to find that right now. Thank you so much. And then on the right-hand side of the screen, you will find a number of different buttons. There's one thing I'd like to point out. If you have questions for any of our speakers, on the right-hand side, you will find a questions box. If you have any questions, please put them into this box so that other participants can see them as well. And this also enables you to upvote or downvote specific questions that you would like to see answered. Over the last few years, we learned that there's a lot of questions, especially for speakers that you don't have the possibility to speak to every day. So what the moderators, including myself, will do is that we'll try to have a look at what are the questions which a lot of people would like to see answered. In many cases, it's not possible to answer all questions. So for that reason, I strongly suggest that you use the questions functionality in order to move forward. The other button that you will see is the chat functionality. In the chat functionality, there you can give comments or feedback or ask quick questions specifically towards our support team in case you're having trouble with connectivity, audio, video, or whether you would like to get any immediate support. Our team will be monitoring the chat throughout all of the different sessions for the next 2 days. So through the chat, you can get in contact with us almost immediately, and we will keep monitoring and answering the questions in real time as we will go along. The reason that I'm asking you to put the questions to presenters in the question box is that the chat will just keep on going, and in some sessions there's more than 100 different chat messages, so it's difficult to distill the questions for the presenters. So please make note of that and try to use the questions tab for asking questions towards different presenters. Good, hope that that is clear for everyone. A relatively new feature, which was introduced last year, but we've also enabled it again for this year, is the ability to join us on the mobile app. If you are looking for the app Zoho Backstage, there you will have the ability to also download us on the mobile phone. It's a little bit more limited functionality in the sense that everything is fitted onto a smaller screen. But if you would like to follow the presentations while you are, let's say, in transport or during the lunch break, then you can also use your mobile phone to listen live towards Automation Days Asia. Strongly encourage you to download the app and follow us on mobile as well. Good. Then we always get the question, and I kind of expect that this year as well. What do I do if I would like to see both sessions, because I find both topics very interesting. So during the day, unfortunately, you will need to make a choice between which of the sessions you will attend, just like with a live conference. But rest assured that we are recording all of the different presentations. And around 1 or 2 days after the event, we will host all of the different videos on our Cybiant website, as well as on our YouTube channel. In case you haven't subscribed yet, or you would like to see some of the sessions from the previous 2 years, I strongly encourage you to go towards the YouTube Cybiant channel. I'm quite sure one of my colleagues will put the link into the chat, so that you can browse through some of the sessions from last year. Good. Besides our YouTube channel, where you can view all of the different videos from the previous few years, we also encourage you to share your ideas, thoughts, or things that you found very interesting around Automation Days on social media. We're available at Twitter, which is now known as X, under the handle Cybiant. Same is true for LinkedIn, the YouTube channel, obviously. And if you are making any comments, or if you are referring towards Automation Days Asia, we strongly appreciate it if you could use the hashtags ADA23 or Automation Days Asia 2023. So that our team can monitor that and also can provide you with instant responses in case you have any questions around the conference program or any of the speakers and would like to have follow-up information. So these are going to be the social media handles that we will be using throughout the next 2 days. So again, we strongly appreciate it if everyone can be a part of that. Good. Then also, let's talk about some of the key giveaways. One of the other questions that we received last year is whether it's possible to receive a certificate of attendance. So this year, the answer is definitely yes. We will be creating certificates of attendance for everyone who's interested. If you would like to receive a certificate of attendance after this conference program, please send us an email at info@cybiant.com or use the live chat to request your certificate of attendance. We won't be producing them for everyone standards, because not everyone is joining all of the sessions. So please, if you want to receive a certificate of attendance for showcasing your participation, then please let us know and we'll be happy to provide you with one. Good. We're also having some free giveaways this year. We're going to give away a copy of my book, The Service Automation Framework for the Design and Delivery of Automated Services, as well as a number of e-learning vouchers. And the way that we're going to be doing this is by providing these goodies to the people who most actively engage with the conference. So throughout the next few days, we will have a number of quiz questions. And these will be during the opening and closing keynotes, as well as during the panel discussions, which we will be hosting at lunches. So during the different sessions throughout the day. For the people who have answered most or all questions correct, we will have a lucky draw and we will announce the winners during the closing ceremony, which will happen tomorrow at 5 o'clock. So this is going to be the way in which we will be distributing some of these free giveaways. So in order to get started with this, let's start right away with launching the first panel question or the first quiz question, so that you have an opportunity to win some of these goodies. Let me launch the poll, and the first question for today is going to be: what percentage of today's work activities could be automated by 2055 according to the latest McKinsey report? And we used this latest report because that means you cannot look up this answer on ChatGPT. So let me start the poll. And you can vote right now. Let's take a quick moment to show you the votes. Good, I see a lot of people are voting already. More than 30 votes are in already. I'm going to give you 5 more seconds. Good, we have almost 80% who voted, so I'm going to show the results right now. And you should be able to see the results on your screen right now. Almost 65%, that is more than 50%. So that's an interesting figure. I will show you the answers in a second. But this is how you voted. So if you have participated in this poll and you will participate in the other 4 questions as well, then you will make a chance to win any of these prizes at the end of the conference. Good, thanks so much for participating in that. Good, that is my short introduction towards the program and what you can expect during Automation Days Asia today. I hope that you will have an enjoyable learning experience in which you will learn a lot of new things by listening to some of the leading minds in the automation industry, and that after 2 days you will have the feeling that you will have learned a lot of new concepts, ideas, or even some programming experience during any of the different workshops. Good, it's now time to start switching towards the opening keynote. And as the CEO of Cybiant, I have the great opportunity to be giving the opening keynote this year by myself. And the topic that I have picked for today is unlocking automation excellence, which is the main conference theme for this year's Automation Days Asia. And the reason that when we started preparing for this conference, our team discussed that this is a very suitable theme for this year, is that achieving automation excellence is very difficult. Many of you who will be listening have started on automation initiatives. You might even already have specific workflows developed. You might have different solutions that are running. But if we ask the question, which organizations truly have an automation first approach, or when we ask whether you consider your automation organization performing in an excellent way, then what we've seen over the last year is that many organizations struggle to set that up correctly. So I thought that that would be a good theme to open with today. And during this first opening keynote, I'm going to give you some insights and tips around how you can start moving towards a more excellent setup of your automation environment. Good. For those of you who are new to Cybiant or are new towards Automation Days, before I get started, give me a very brief moment to introduce myself. My name is Jan-Willem Middelburg. Everyone just calls me Jan, and I have the pleasure of leading our organization Cybiant, which actually stands for Cyber Information and Technology. And I've been doing that for the last 4 years. I'm also the author of a number of different books, and the one that's especially relevant for today's session is that I wrote the Service Automation Framework, which was published in 2017. In this book, we looked at a way in which organizations can automate the delivery of their services. And what I never expected at that time is that many organizations would have the same questions, and not just look at how an individual process can be automated, but how to automate the entire value chain of services. So this is what this book is recognized, and what I will do today is also share some of those ideas in the opening keynote presentation today. So with Cybiant, we are providing automation solutions, we're developing workflows, we provide RPA technology and all the likes. I'm obviously not going to make this a commercial discussion, but the main point that I want to make is that we have a strong background within the automation space. So I think you're going to be able to learn a lot throughout the next few days around how you can establish an automation environment which will help you achieve your longer term goals. Good. I would like to start my opening presentation with a quick cartoon. And the quick cartoon was actually from an article that was published in the Wall Street Journal in 2014. And the headline of that article was "Automation Makes Us Dumb." And the subtitle was "Human Intelligence is Withering as Computers Do More, but There's a Specific Solution." The article was written by Nicholas Carr, and it was already published in 2014, so almost a decade ago. And the reason that I started with this article, or I'd like to start with this article as a starting point of Automation Days today, is that this headline addresses two main points that I'm going to try to cover in my presentation. The first of all is that automation and automation challenges have been around for a long time. A decade within the existence of most organizations is considered a long time. And we still haven't figured it out how we could leverage automation in an effective way in which it assists us on a day-to-day basis so that it is embedded in everything that we're doing. So I will show you that in the next few slides. But the first key point that I want you to take away is that automation has been there for quite a long time, and we still haven't figured it out. And the second key point is that the fear of over-relying on automation, and the fear that if we give everything towards computers for us to solve, that we as people are unable to understand, follow along with what we've developed, and therefore it becomes a computer-driven organization. And the question is whether you would like that. And I'm going to try to address these 2 points in the presentation today, which I've labeled Unlocking Automation Excellence. I'm not just going to try to address this, I'm also going to provide you with some insights and a specific design model, which I like to refer to as a framework, through which you can address that. And these are some of the things I hope you will take away from the session today. Good. Before we get started, let's start defining what automation excellence actually means, because it's a vague term and it obviously means that you need to be good in automation. But before we get started with showcasing a specific solution around how you can design an excellent organization, let's start with referring to a number of the critical components. And when I discuss automation excellence with our clients in the automation space, I generally show them this slide. And that shows that automation excellence can be defined as the strategic and efficient implementation of automation processes, technologies, and systems to achieve optimal performance, streamlined operations, and enhanced outcomes. And it involves leveraging automation tools and technologies in a manner that not only increases the efficiency and productivity, but also aligns with the broader goals and values of the organization. And this definition, in my opinion, is very important and is very crucial towards understanding what we're trying to do when we talk about automation excellence. Because the goal of automation excellence is not to automate everything. The goal of automation excellence is also not to put everything into a workflow and just take a step back and do only monitoring. The goal of automation is also not just to help us with operational tasks. It's a strategic exercise. So I know it's quite a long definition, but there's three main points that I would like you to take away from this definition. First and foremost, when you start with automation, it should be focused around strategic and efficient implementation of automation processes. And what we mean with strategic is that it should be or should become a part of the way in which you achieve your enterprise goals. It's not there just for an operational tool. Implementing automation successfully is going to change the DNA of your organization. And if you do that well, it's going to lead towards better results. But if you just consider it another tool within your IT stack, it's never going to achieve the results that you're aiming for. So always start looking at it from a strategic and efficient point of view. The second key takeaway that I want you to get from this definition is that it's all focused around outcomes. And a better way of defining outcomes, in my opinion, is always that it is there for specific results. Don't automate just for the sake of automation itself. Don't automate because you think it can solve a short-term problem. Don't automate because it's just a nice tool and something cool that you can show. Automation is only going to be effective if you focus around the results. And those results need to be able to be expressed in terms of value, money, and time. These results need to have an underlying business case. So as many of you will know, automation technology requires time and energy and also licensing fees. So there needs to be a return on investment. And if you don't have that picture clear in your mind, then again, it's going to be very difficult to achieve the outcomes. And then the last key part, and I saved that for the last main bullet, is, in my opinion, the most important. If you want to do automation successfully, it needs to align towards the broader goals and values of your organization. So it means working together with robots and with automation as a part of the way that you operate, part of your culture, part of the way that you embrace new technology in order to provide services in a better or more successful way. So these are going to be the key outcomes. And this is what we're trying to achieve during automation excellence programs. So you might now say, well, that's nice, but how are we going to achieve that? And before I start defining that a little bit more in detail, let me show the topic that everyone has been talking about in the last year around how automation has significantly changed almost every organization that we are encountering today. I always like to show that with two main pictures that you see that kind of very well capture some of the benefits, but also some of the challenges that we face in automation today. On the left-hand side, you see a number of tools and the days it took to reach 1 million users. So if you thought that platforms like Facebook, Spotify, or Instagram were successful, it all pales in comparison towards the significant adoption and, I would say, embracement of large language models, and specifically ChatGPT, because that was the first one that popularized it. It took them less than 20 days to reach 1 million users across the globe. So it showcases that there is a tremendous demand for these kinds of tools, and that automation is significantly changing. What you will see in the program this week or these 2 days is that a lot of people will use large language models, artificial intelligence, to embed it within their automation solutions. And we're going to see a lot of different presentations around that. So I'm going to leave that towards the other speakers. But the reason I'm showing you this is for two main parts. First of all, I want you to start seeing the adoption and the speed with which this is going. The second part is that it also brings a lot of challenges. On the right-hand side, you can see a picture that was generated with artificial or automated solutions, and that shocked the world, and not so much because it was able to create this, but the more challenging part is that a lot of people thought it was real. So on the right-hand side, you see a pope, or the pope actually, in what is now known famously as the puffer jacket, which is a white, artificially generated big jacket. But the reason that this caused a bit of a stir, and it was in all the big newspapers, is because there was a significant part of the population that actually thought that this image was real and that it was not created by any form of artificial intelligence or specific tools. And that brings us towards the second point around automation, because even though it brings a lot of benefits, there's also the obligation for organizations to make sure that the facts remain the facts, and that there is that people need to be able to trust the information that they're receiving at the same time. So the question is, how do you deal with that, and how do you put that into practice? Because of ChatGPT, because of a lot of the new technology that is becoming available, what we have seen is that automation is accelerating. And it's accelerating with a space that I have never seen before. And I've been part of a lot of, I would say, technology cycles. And especially in the year 2023, we have seen a mass adoption of automation solutions and automation technologies. And in order to prepare for this keynote today, I reflected a little bit on this and looked at what are some of the more key drivers that explain why automation is accelerating. And I think there are a couple of main things that you should take into account to understand that. Might also be one of the reasons why you joined today. First and foremost, these new technologies, especially AI, large language models that I showed you on the previous slide, have made automation more accessible. You don't need to be a programmer anymore. You don't need to know how it works under the hood. If you sign up for an account for any large language model, you can just get started and use an automation or an automatically generated approach without understanding how a computer works or how that is being generated through all kinds of complicated machine learning and deep learning algorithms. And because of that, there are now many what we refer to as low-code solutions. So with low-code solutions, we mean that you can just drag and drop and basically click together your specific solution without the need to become a detailed expert and understand what is happening in the creation of such a workflow. And that means that more and more people are joining the automation domain. Within our company, we generally like to refer to this as citizen developers. And we see the demand and questions for citizen developer programs exploding, especially in the course of 2023. That also means that a lot of people have started in one way or another to develop their own automations in order to speed up their own work or to help them out with a task that they would need to do frequently. And as a result, what you see in a lot of organizations that there are a lot of, I would say, point-to-point solutions where people have built their own automation and they're using that on a day-to-day basis, but without a coherent overview and a coherent approach from an organization's point of view. So it means they're all kind of freestanding solutions. And because of this acceleration and because of the benefits that it brings, it at the same time also brings a lot of risk towards organizations. And that risk needs to be managed. So if we look at the benefits that I just explained, then almost all of those benefits also lead towards a number of drawbacks. And the number one discussion point that I generally have with clients is that because of the fact that it's now very easy to develop and use automations, is that there is different people in different departments all creating their own point solutions. So from an organization perspective, that means that there is a lack of visibility and consistency. It's not exactly clear who's doing what, where automations are run. And therefore, it is extremely difficult to track which automations even exist and what they are doing. This is a problem because it is even more difficult to track and trace who is doing what and whether specific work has been done by a robot or that a person was actually doing this by themselves. And this will lead into two very crucial concepts that I'm going to cover a little bit more in detail, which is authentication and security. And I'd like you to refer back towards that picture of the Pope that we saw and the discussion around what is real and fake. Same kind of problems we are now seeing in organizations. I was in a discussion a week ago with a company that said, well, we received emails from a specific employee, but that person said that they were never sent by him, but that they were programmed by a robot in order to send them out. So it became very difficult to track what is real and what is being automated. So the main point I would like to make is that, yes, automation brings a lot of benefits, but only if you govern that appropriately. So it's very important to start keeping track of what has been created by automations and robots and what has been done by people themselves. So because of these drawbacks, the question is, how do you deal with that? And over the years, those who have seen me on other presentations will notice, I always tend to showcase this slide because I think it very adequately shows the different stages that organization move through in order to move towards automation excellence. Most organizations start with being more silo-oriented, with all different departments doing different things. Then they start with more process organization and cross-silo process automation, which is what we refer to as the process-oriented organization. And only if they have managed to achieve that step, then they can move towards the automated organization. And that means automating manual workflows, improving processes, and cross-team collaboration. And only if you have achieved that stage, then you can start moving forward towards the more predictive organization, where you're using machine learning, analytics, data science to get insights out of the things that your organization automatically processes. So this is a step-by-step model that almost every organization goes through on their journey towards automation excellence. And in that journey, it remains important to look at the people, process, and technology aspects. So what you will see on this next slide is that within each of those different stages, there's different key topics that you would need to address, like establishing roadmaps, setting up maturity models, training, skills development, etc. I'm not going to go into this in too much detail, But the main key point I would like you to see is that in order to move from left to right, it is important not just to focus around the technology and the automation aspects, but also to very sincerely focus around the human and capability aspects. So in order to do that, I hope that at this stage you say, well, I agree, or at least sounds nice. And but how are we going to achieve that? And the cartoon I always kind of like to show is why are we buying faster computers? Are people already make mistakes fast enough? And the main message behind that is this: if you buy nice automation tools, but your processes are not efficient, or they're not optimized to achieve a certain task, then buying automation is not going to solve any of your problems. So it all starts, from my experience, with having a proper design in place. And in order to define and think back around that design, I would like you to remember the definition of automation excellence that I put on the slide a few minutes ago. And that definition says we should focus on something that is strategic and efficient, something that is delivering outcomes that we aim to achieve, and that aligns towards the broader goals and values of the organization. So remember this definition, because that ultimately is the end goal. And the model that I'm going to show you next is the way in which, as an organization, you can start to achieve that. And the number one way in which you can start to achieve automation excellence is by establishing what is known as an automation center of excellence. And an automation center of excellence is a centralized hub within an organization that is dedicated to overseeing automation initiatives across different departments and business units. So remember some of those problems that we just highlighted, the fact that there's different point solutions, that different departments are doing their own solutions. You need to start, in order to become an automation excellence organization, is start to get in control around what automation is doing in your enterprise. And the question that I always receive is, how do we do that? What are the key aspects that we need to think about? And I always like to show them the house of a center of excellence that you see on the right-hand side, which consists of a number of critical focus points that you would need to address in order to set up your automation COE. And if you look at that a little bit more closely, you can see that the COE exists of three main layers. And each of those layers will generally be governed by different people. It will typically have different teams that look into it. But it is only through the collective collaboration between all of these different layers that you will start to see where an automation COE is starting to become successful. And that is at the strategic layer, where we have automation strategy and governance; at the technical layer, where we look at knowledge, skills, automation platforms, and privacy and security; and at the more operational layer, we look at what is necessary to make and deliver workflows, which is obviously the data and data management, orchestration, and development best practices. If there's one slide I really would like you to take away from this morning's keynote and session, it's absolutely this one, where you will see the key approaches and best practices towards establishing an automation center of excellence, and what are the key things that you would need to take into account. And each of those layers can be broken down into a number of different objectives. So and let me kind of briefly cover some of the key aspects for the sake of time. So at the top, at the most strategic level, you would need to look at an automation strategy. So obviously, what is it that we aim to automate? What are the business cases? And again, what are the outcomes that we aim to achieve? Remember back the definition of automation excellence. So why are we doing this? What are the benefits? And what is the return on investment? And from a governance perspective, that also means that you need to start setting up standards around the way in which an organization will deal with its automation practices in the enterprise. Moving one level deeper, we then need to look at, well, how are we going to achieve that? And I always say that any automation strategy is driven or is carried literally by three main pillars. A strong house is also always carried by different pillars, and the same is true for an automation COE. So the three main pillars that you would need to look at are knowledge and skills, because you can have the best robots in the world. Ultimately, those are going to be programmed by people, and therefore you need to have people who know how to do that. Automation would not be possible without technology. So the second pillar would be automation platforms, and that means you need to evaluate, select, and set up your automation tool stack. And then the third pillar, and again, I'd like you to think back around that definition of automation excellence that we covered earlier, is privacy and security. This is a critical tactical pillar within any automation organization. You need to have track which data was processed by which automations and on a centralized level. So that's the privacy and security key aspect. And then towards the bottom of the more operational processes, there is all the day-to-day activities that organizations do in order to develop and build their workflows. So obviously the data that is inputted into automations and RPA workflows, the process design, the way that this is going to be scheduled and orchestrated, as well as the development best practices, coding standards, and all the day-to-day operations that we see in place. And what I've generally been seeing over the last few years is that most organizations, when establishing a COE, focus on that operational level first, instead of the other way around. In my opinion, you should start at the top of the model, start with your strategy, and then move down towards automation governance, the tactical aspects, and then only start looking at the operational processes that you need. So this is a main message, and I hope you take that away from this session, is that setting up a COE is crucial. So to kind of wrap up and basically summarize what I have tried to give you in this opening keynote, is that through the establishment of an automation of center of excellence, you're able to realize a few important benefits. And the center of excellence is end-to-end, means that it aligns to business goals, it provides consistency and standardization, and it's easy to understand and easy, therefore, to explain to others. It focuses on efficiency through optimization, and it includes a very strong component around knowledge development as well as the human aspect. And again, remember that earlier I said, remember, because remember the three components of automation excellence: strategic and efficient, focus on enhanced outcomes, and aligning towards the broader goals and values of the organization. So I hope that by looking at these three steps, you can start to see the mapping. An automation center of excellence built up on the model that you see on the left will bring the benefits that you will see on the right, and that in turn will lead towards fulfilling the requirements of automation excellence. So in order to understand how can I become an excellent organization in automation, my strong advice to everyone listening today is follow these three steps. Start with the design of your center of excellence. That will lead towards a number of benefits which fulfill the requirements of an automation excellence. And that's the main key idea I would like to instill in you on this Tuesday morning. Before I move towards the questions, I'd like to end with this. This is because we're in November, and remember the 21st of November, which for all of you who have seen the movie, The V of Vendetta, is an important month and is celebrated around the world. So if you look at the capabilities of automation, I asked a large language model to make a very quick summary of the presentation that I provided today. And it came up with the following very short poem, which I think is a very good inspiration for the rest of your day at Automation Days 2023. And it goes as follows. In the heart of Asia's digital embrace, on November's eve, a learning grace. Automation Days 2023, a vibrant stage, excellence sung on every page. The 21st of November, a tale unfolds, of strategies crafted, of stories untold. In the dance of knowledge, a rhythmic trance, a center of excellence in every glance. Remember this digital light, automation's magic, shining bright. I'd like to end with that and provide you with some inspiration for the next 2 days, because I hope that after this event, you're going to remember a lot of the things that you learned on the 21st and the 22nd of November. Have a lot of fun during Automation Days, and I look really forward to engaging with all of you and asking and answering as much questions as you can. Good. I see that I still have 2 minutes to answer a few quick questions. And again, in case I cannot answer all of your questions, then please feel free to keep the conversation going in the next sessions, because I'm more than happy to answer questions there as well. Good. I'm going to answer 2 questions that I see that have been asked. The first one I'm going to project on the screen right now. What would be a general definition of a citizen developer? And I think that's a very good question. The answer to the way that I define a citizen developer is someone who wants to leverage the capabilities of automation, but does not have an IT or computer science background. So in other words, things like variables, algorithms, functions is foreign to citizen developers, but they do want to leverage and utilize the benefits of automation. So in order for them to do that, we need to provide tools and solutions which are easy to use and that don't require any coding knowledge. And that's what a citizen developer, in my opinion, is. So I hope that answers that question. And then last question, because I know the speakers for the next session are already waiting, is from Tren. Can I get more information on the Center of Excellence, please? And thank you for the interesting keynote. So I'm happy to hear that you find it interesting. Main message is we will obviously share this video as well as the slides. So each of those domains that I explained in that house of a certain Center of Excellence, those are key elements that you would need to address. So that's where I would get started. And we can obviously send you some more written information after this. But this is, in essence, how you would need to start thinking about it and how to set it up. Good. So I hope that answers your question as well. Good. I see one more coming in, and I have 1 more minute, so I'm going to do that. So next question is coming from 10. What is the value of a human when AI is to have its self-awareness? And this is always a very interesting question, because it kind of touches a little bit on the philosophical debate around where automation is going to become intelligent. Let me put it this way. I've been working with automation, machine learning, technologies and artificial intelligence for quite a long time. And even though it's smart and it's able to do a lot of different things at this stage, I would say that at this stage, moving towards self-awareness is still a very, very long shot, and it's going to take at least another 5 to 10 years before we get that. At that stage, I think I might be able to answer your question better. But note that as most organizations use it today, automation is just technology. And the fact that it can do a lot of smart things does not yet mean that it will be close towards self-awareness, because with self-awareness, there's also a lot of other aspects that come into place, like ethics, like reasoning, like learning and capability, thinking and dealing with unexpected situations, which at this stage is not where the technology, or at least the commercial technology, is yet. So it's an interesting question, but I think I cannot answer it adequately until we get towards a stage where there is actual self-awareness. Good. I see that the questions keep coming in, but unfortunately, we need to leave it at this for this morning, and because we already have our next speaker waiting for the next session. And we have had a small change in the program. So at 10 o'clock, we're going to start with Tariq Munir, which is a very gifted speaker, and I'm very much looking forward to his presentation. He's going to talk about digital transformation and mobilizing the organization at scale. And Tariq is the APAC Financial Planning Transformation Lead at PepsiCo, and is going to give a very interesting presentation around this topic. Thanks everyone for listening to my keynote. I hope you found it interesting, and I look forward to engaging with you over the next 2 days. Thanks everyone.